Welcome into the Rob Bro Show. I am Rob Bro. I am the host. You are the co-host. You can co-host today by commenting on the Starting Line chat line. The Starting Line chat line brought to you by Starting Line Counseling. StartingLineCounseling.com for a free 15-minute consultation there with Chase, a two-time Texas Tech graduate. Been in the business a decade plus, and beyond his online practice, you can also find him in person in Gunner, Texas. There at the office. The offices of Starting Line chat line.
Sweet digs.
That is we already have a question on the chat line. We'll get to that later. Let's do the things we have planned, and then we'll get back to that. Zeno, we'll get there. It's an interesting question on Monday, April 28th, 29th?
Mm-hmm. It's Overreaction Monday, Rob.
It is Overreaction Monday. We'll talk about it. We'll also talk about the NFL draft. We'll start there. And because of that question, I do want to give a couple of stats here. I was sent these. I'm not sure where they're from. But I was sent them. This is the 2024 realigned draft. So this is Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC. This is all the new Big Ten teams in the Big Ten and where those draft picks are allocated to those conferences. The SEC had 73 draft picks.
Shocker.
The Big Ten had 69. The ACC had 43. The Big 12 had 26. And this is how the NFL draft shook out with regards to conferences without, I believe, the transition. The SEC 59. The Pac-12 43, which is dead now. The Big 10 42. The ACC 41. The Big 12 31. Independent 8. Notre Dame. Sun Belt 6, American 5, Conference USA 3, Mountain West 2, MAC 2. So still a big gap in between the Big 12 and the rest. But an obvious gap in between the SEC and everyone else, with the Big 10 evening up because they get USC and Oregon to join the Big 10.
Yep. UCLA and Washington.
Right. Washington as well. I don't know how many guys UCLA had drafted, but certainly Oregon. Oregon and USC had their fair share picked. Texas had their most draft picks in the 7th-round era, period, with 11. And those are all Big 12 players.
Yep.
But does it surprise you that the Big 12 was so far behind the SEC and the Big 10 and even the ACC in the draft with the realigned conference metrics?
No, not really. I mean, the SEC and the Big 10 were the two best conferences in college football. Obviously, the Big 10 has Michigan at its very highest right now at the top of the mountain. Ohio State is always putting out, 10 to 12. And then in the SEC, that's where the best college football is played. I mean, just hands down, it's where the best athletes usually end up is in the SEC. And it's not going to get any easier with Texas and Oklahoma, two name brands going to the top conference in the country.
There's also a draft bias.
Yeah, there's a draft bias because I think that NFL teams see that, Georgia, for instance, probably had 16 guys drafted, it seems like, every year. Like they probably average 8 draft picks per year over the last since Kirby Smart's been there. So, just if every school, you can throw Vanderbilt out, but even like an Auburn team.
Yeah. So this year, Michigan had 13.
Right.
Texas 11.
Yep.
Alabama, Florida State, Washington, all with 10. Georgia, Oregon, Penn State, all with 8. Notre Dame, USC with 7. Clemson, LSU, Missouri, 6. Auburn, 5. And
Yeah, and
then
Auburn had a down year.
long lists with 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Right.
Do you know how many Oklahoma State played in the conference championship game against Texas?
Mm-hmm.
How many players they had drafted?
2, 1,
0.
0. Wow.
0. I think now this might here's Overreaction Monday for you. I think there are schools and conferences that recruit to win college football games. And there are conferences who recruit NFL prospects.
Yeah. I mean, the SEC is full of, like we just talked about, full of NFL type prospects. And then you're going to eventually win some college football games with those guys, right? Like they have to be there for at least 3 years.
Right.
So it's not like basketball or any of that's the only sport in college athletics now that you don't have to stick around for at least 3 years, but or at least 2 years in baseball terms. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you're getting the best talent, you're getting NFL caliber talent, you have the most draft picks, you're usually going to have the best teams. That's just how it works. But
Right.
that's not to say like TCU last year, I'd love to know how many draft picks they had off their national title runner up team versus what Michigan had, right? Like, and Michigan's always been one of those teams who, even when they were poor, they were sending 4 to 5 guys in the NFL draft just because it's that this dude played at Michigan. He's looked at as being a high caliber player.
When you also had Michigan this year have 4 or 5 draft eligible guys last year stay another season just to
win a natty. Yeah.
So the Michigan numbers are inflated to me.
Right.
And I would assume the Texas numbers are the same with 11. You probably have some guys that would have left last year if they weren't doubling down in today's college football.
Yeah.
And then you have, Alabama, obviously. Florida State goes undefeated. They get a bunch of guys drafted. Washington in the playoff. They get a bunch of guys drafted. Georgia, Oregon, Penn State, all really good last year. They get a bunch of guys drafted.
Well, and Texas also had a guy that started at Georgia, Adonai Mitchell, who then plays 1 year at Texas, and he's drafted as well. So,
And he
he did fall because of some quote unquote unnamed sources with stories to tell.
Yeah, and I never heard any of that while he was at Texas or before.
I didn't either. Never heard any of that. I mean, you heard the reasons he left Georgia is because he butted heads with his coaching staff and all this, but I mean, some players just are going to butt heads with coaches. Like that happens. It doesn't make you a terrible person. Doesn't make you a terrible player. Like I don't understand those things.
All right, let's get into the draft itself. We'll start with. You know what? We'll start alphabetically here. We'll start with the Cardinals. The Cardinals drafting in the 4th round, Dadrian Taylor Demerson. They also got the best wide receiver on the board, Marvin Harrison Jr. They got one of the best defensive players on the board because they were also in the 1st round, and there were like 3 defenders taken in the 1st round, and a lot of them really late there in the 1st round. They get Darius Robinson out of Missouri. They draft 3 corners along with Dadrian Taylor Demerson, the safety. They get a tight end. They get some offensive line help. They get another edge rusher. They get a running back in the 3rd, an offensive tackle in the 3rd, a tight end in the 3rd, and a corner in the 3rd. They had 4 third-round picks. Then you get Dadrian Taylor Demerson early, the 4th pick in the 4th round. For Rabbit, is that about where you thought he would go? We discussed it.
Yeah, that's what we said.
He might get up into the 3rd. I always thought he was going to be a 4th round pick. But that early in the 4th round, that's really good for him. And I don't love the Cardinals. I've long said that the Cardinals are a trash organization. Sorry, Big Hen. But But I do like the fit here if they're I mean, they have a head coach going into year 2. They still have Kyler Murray. They get, uh, one of the best wide receiver prospects in years in Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
If they're good enough offensively and you can shore up the defense, that offensive line is still bad. They drafted 2 offensive tackles. Um, it'll be interesting to see what the Cardinals do this season. I know that division with the Seahawks and the Rams. The Rams maybe are back, but you lose Aaron Donald. Matt Stafford is hurt every year. And then you
He's
obviously
old.
have the 49ers, who are the best team in the NFC. So it's an interesting division, but hopefully Rabbit can stay there for 4 or 5 years and get into the mix. If not, he can move on quickly.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot for Rabbit because here's the thing about the Cardinals. Like, there's plenty of opportunities here for the Cardinals right now. Plenty of opportunities to make a roster spot. You get drafted that high, you're always going to get a good look. Like, they're going to put some effort into you. Um, it's not like, Jaden Davis being drafted at 226, which you look at it on paper, pick 104 to pick 226 doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but it is in the fact of how much money they're putting into to Rabbit versus what they're giving to Jaden Davis. Same position really, as Rabbit, but yeah, I think that overall it's a good pick. Obviously, they haven't had a whole lot of success, so you want someone to go like a Zach McPherson that got to go to Philadelphia and be a part of a team that's in a winning time of their tenure right now. But yeah, the Cardinals, obviously they get Marvin Harrison Jr. It's the best wide receiver pick, the best pick at wide receiver they've had since Larry Fitzgerald. I think Marvin Harrison's a game changer type of guy. He really is. He was that for Peyton Manning. His dad was that for Peyton Manning in Indianapolis. Without Marvin Harrison Sr., I don't know that Peyton Manning is who he is early in his career. So, I think they had a good draft, but I mean, the offensive line struggles. You pick up Trey Benson, the Florida State running back, who I think has a lot of talent, a lot of north-south talent as well. But yeah, you gotta sew up that offensive line. And if you don't have a good offensive line in the NFL, we've seen you aren't going to have a whole lot of success, especially with how good these defensive tackles and edge rushers and all of these dudes are these days. That defensive tackles are running 4.5 40s, 4.6 40s as a 6'6", 285-pound man. So it's not easy to be an offensive lineman in the NFL. It's just not, and it gets harder and harder every single year.
So that's the Cardinals and Dadrian Taylor Demerson. Then you go to the Jaguars, who in the 7th round pick up Miles Cole. Miles Cole listed 6'6", 278. And as they say, he has impressive traits. Great 40-yard dash. His measurables are off the charts, and this is the exact kind of flyer you see from teams late in drafts. You just go get the guy who had the best RAS score or whatever it's called.
Yeah. You go get the guy that has the most upside, right? Like he has, like you just said, Rob, he has the measurables, the things that you can't teach. Everything else you can teach him. Like, you can't teach wingspan, you can't teach reach, you can't teach height. You can't just stretch a kid and make him 6'6" and his arm span 7'4". Like, you can't do it. And maybe later in our existence as human beings on this planet, well after we're gone, they'll figure it out. But right now you can't. And Miles Cole is athletic. He'll figure it out. I think he's got a really good opportunity in the NFL, whether that's with the Jaguars or whether it's with somebody else. It doesn't matter, but he's going to find somewhere that will give him the opportunity and he'll always have like that opportunity, I think, to go somewhere just because, like I said, you can't teach the measurables. You can't teach the reach. You can't teach all of those things The motor needs to be a little higher for me, for Miles, and I think it will be. Trying to find a roster spot. You go to OTAs and rookie minicamp and all these things.
Well, and especially early in
Um,
his career, he won't play as many snaps.
yeah, exactly.
And,
So
and I'll say this: I wonder, listed at 278. I wonder if they put 20 pounds on him and
I was gonna say they'll put some meat on him.
play him inside and out.
Move him inside. Yep, move him interior, especially in a if the today's day and age, you're running a 3-4 scheme, or it looks like a 4-man front, but it's really a two down defensive
Yeah.
linemen and then two up edge rushers. So, um, yeah, I could see him playing both, to be honest with you, just because of his reach, athleticism on the inside gives you a boost on, taking out a running back that's coming up the middle, the wingspan to grab him and pull him backwards. That's what you want, right? So yeah, I don't I think he's gonna have a career. I really do. I don't think he's gonna be one of those that doesn't make the team, gets put on a practice squad, and then he's done playing football in 2 to 3 years just because it's a grind. I think Miles Cole's got a real shot. He just needed an opportunity.
All right, let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs, who did not have a third-round pick. They had 2 fourth-round picks, so they picked 7 times. They get Xavier Worthy out of Texas. I don't remember. Do you like Xavier Worthy as an
Yeah,
NFL
I
guy?
love Xavier Worthy. I think he's very athletic.
So we were
He's not Tyreek Hill, don't get me wrong, but he's a speed demon. Dude can fly. Yeah, I think Xavier Worthy is that kind of guy that when Pat breaks contain and runs around, Xavier Worthy's that dude who can go get open and make things happen with his feet. You can do a lot of things with Xavier Worthy. You can run him inside. You can also put him outside and just run the straight go route. Just beat a dude. So I think they'll do a lot of the things with Xavier Worthy that they did with Tyreek Hill. He's not as fast as agile as Tyreek Hill is just a freak.
he's as
But
fast. I don't know if he's as agile.
he's as fast, yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good pick. I don't mind it. They needed a guy. They needed somebody like that, a game breaker type dude who can take one to the house at any given moment. So, and then you have the best quarterback in the league, and that helps a lot. So,
Here's my
like
thing.
if
Tyreek
Xavier
Hill,
Worthy was playing in, I don't know, playing for the Giants, it wouldn't be the same kind of pick.
be John Ross.
Yeah.
If Tyreek Hill, I mean, he's 2 or 3 inches shorter than Xavier Worthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
20 pounds heavier.
True.
Xavier
They
Worthy.
can put some poundage on Xavier Worthy, though.
Who? The Chiefs?
Yeah.
He was with an all-star
It's
nutrition group at Texas for 3 years.
true. That's
He
true.
gained 5 pounds.
Well, the older you get, the more you gain. We know that.
Yeah, but he had elite level strength and conditioning and
No,
nutrition.
yeah, it's true. You're
And
not wrong.
he's probably taken a step back, nutrition and strength and conditioning at the Chiefs.
Well, and he definitely took a step back in the facilities. Did you see
Big
when he's walking through the Chiefs facility? His eyes are just like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Those wood lockers they have.
It's just sad.
Did we have better lockers in high school?
Yeah, we did at
Isn't
a
that crazy?
private school with no money. Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
it's nuts. We also had black mold in the ceiling, but
Well,
who's
you
talking
giving-
about that, right?
giving you-
They probably do too at their facility in Kansas City.
I just, you have all these qualifiers with Xavier Worthy. He could be Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson,
Yeah.
same slight build, was really good because he was fast. If you're just going to run downfield and say, F it, he's down there somewhere,
Throw it.
and maybe do some of the zigs and zags with motions that you've done with Tony and Sky Moore in the last couple of seasons. You give some fly sweeps to him. All right. Good pick. Position of need in the first round. Your roster's fairly complete. I'm not knocking the pick, but I also don't love the pick.
Yeah, I mean,
but I'm wait and see on Xavier Worthy because of where you are in the position. Because you had a guy a couple of picks later there in the second to get your offensive tackle, which you desperately needed.
I was gonna say I like that pick more than I like the Xavier Worthy pick, to be honest with you.
And then you picked up Jared Wiley out of TCU if he's healthy.
Great pick too. Yeah.
Great pick. I think
Well,
he
he could be the
really
second coming of Travis Kelce.
I think he was really underrated at TCU.
Yeah.
6'6", 250.
He's a very athletic 6'6", 250 too. Like he's an athletic tight end.
He's got some speed.
Yeah, got some run to him. Yeah.
He was played out of a lot of positions at TCU, played slot, played wide out, played tight end in that offense. He was top 5 catches of tight ends in the Power 5 last year. So
I mean, he looked good in Max Duggan and Chandler Jones and all those dudes were his quarterbacks. So think how good he could look with Pat Mahomes.
Right. The rest of the picks are what they are. Right. You get a center and a guard. You get an offensive tackle, center, and guard. You pick up a safety and a corner to help with some of those losses.
The top 3 picks for the Chiefs are all Big 12 dudes, by the way. Like Kingsley Suamataia is one of my favorite.
If you count BYU, you can't count Texas, but I guess he technically played in the Big 12. You're right.
BYU yeah, he played the Big 12. Yeah.
I know, but the Texas SEC, whatever it is.
Technically, they're not the SEC yet. You got to wait till baseball and all these seasons.
True.
So it's still the Big 12, Rob.
It is still the Big 12. We counted them in the draft numbers earlier. All right.
Yeah.
The Chiefs also, in the undrafted free agents, get Red Raider Baylor Cup.
Yeah, they got 2 big wide receiver tight end types.
Baylor Cup also 6'6", 260. Had 11 passes caught for 114 yards this year. 2 touchdowns. But you just, dealt with some injuries, and you just didn't use your tight ends like anybody wanted you to this year.
Right.
Like. So
yeah, I think with the way that Kansas City uses their tight ends, though, now they do have quite a few tight ends on the roster already, and Jared Wiley being picked high doesn't help Baylor Cup make a roster spot at all in that regard, because obviously they're going to give a roster spot to a guy that they picked as their 3rd overall pick 131 over a guy that they signed as a free agent for $2,500.
Sure.
But if he goes and has a good mini camp and a good OTA and shows that he can catch balls, and especially in your 3rd and shorts where you're bringing in 3 tight ends to run packages with, I think that suits Baylor Cup too, because they like receiving tight ends in Kansas City. They don't need anybody that's just going to go in there and just be a blocking guy, right? Like that
260
Tony Gonzalez type, like the guy that can block and catch. They don't really need that anymore.
If anyone does, it's the Chiefs, though.
That's
the Chiefs run more multi-tight end packages than anyone else.
Well, that's what I mean, though, is they run multi-tight end, but they like the wide receiver type tight end, not the blocking.
They have both.
Yeah.
Certainly Travis Kelce is a receiver. He is a receiver.
Yeah, he's not a blocking tight end, yeah.
But you also have Noah Gray and Blake Bell. Blake Bell is a blocking.
Blake Bell's
he's an
dozer, yeah.
Yeah. If anybody's going to carry 4 tight ends on a roster, 5 tight ends, it'll be
the Chiefs. Yeah.
But they also got Irv Smith in the offseason. Former Alabama guy from, where was he? Cincinnati. So you have Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, Irv Smith, Prince Garrett, or Garrett Prince, who I don't know, and then Baylor Cup. Also, some guy named Isaiah Gathings, who I don't know. But there you go. That's his.
Roy calls him Raider Cup. He won't say Baylor is going to be the second coming of Travis Kelce. I said that Jared Wiley could be.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Joey called him Raider Cup this season.
Yeah, Raider Cup. Yeah.
Speaking of undrafted free agents
in the Baylor game,
before we get to the Dallas Cowboys, Austin McNamara goes to the Bengals. Now, the Bengals punter Brad Robbins was 34th out of 32 teams in average. So Austin McNamara, really good opportunity there to make that team and be the starting punter. Just as it was, if you take McNamara's final year in Lubbock, he would rank 21st in punt average. If you take his best year in Lubbock, he'd be top 10 in the NFL in average. Obviously, there's touchbacks and inside the 20 and putting it out of bounds and all that stuff. The net ranking that you have to keep up with as well. But you're looking at a real opportunity there for Austin McNamara.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that he'll be able to beat that dude out for sure. Good opportunity for him.
Great opportunity. Let's see. Then you have Xavier White to the Colts. Xavier White is a guy who I could look back in a decade and he could be on an NFL roster because he's a solid special teams player.
Yeah.
And playing special teams at Texas Tech, playing receiver, playing running back, having return reps. He did it all at Texas Tech. Maybe he can do some of that with the Colts too, but I expect him, if he makes the roster this year with the Colts, to really take advantage of his special teams. Same with Rashad Williams and Tyler Owens. Rashad Williams goes to the Raiders. Tyler Owens goes to the Commanders. And then the Titans, working really quickly in an undrafted free agency, go and pick a guy in Cole Spencer, who I thought they might even draft late because of the steam going into the draft.
Yeah.
But they get him as an undrafted free agent, and you never know with offensive linemen. A lot of offensive linemen latch on to practice squads, and then it's an injury or two, and you're right there in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how Terrence Steele started his career, right? Like,
Exactly how he started his career.
that's how he started his career. He started on the practice squad, couple injuries, force him into a starting role, and he makes the most of it. Now he's the starting right tackle for the Dallas Cowboys. So, yeah, I mean that's unless you're just this super freak of a beast and on the offensive line, especially these days, like we talked about, it's so hard to play on the offensive line. The NFL is so different than college football on the offensive line too. It's going to take a few years to develop into a good NFL professional offensive lineman. It just does. There's not a whole lot of guys that can roll out from college and be a guy that is on a good offensive line and is going to give you good reps.
Not as undrafted guys.
Right.
It was really rare that Terrence Steele did it, and
Yeah,
he was really only excelling in his first 2 years at run blocking.
Yep.
I think he's gotten better.
Pass pro was hard.
Well, and especially when he was playing left tackle for several games because Tyron Smith was out. Speaking of Tyron Smith, he left. Where did he go? The Jets? But you draft his replacement in he went to the Jets. Didn't he? Now you're making me question that. Yeah, he's with the Jets. Don't make me
I don't keep up with Tyron Smith.
Don't make me look it up. But you draft his replacement in the first round. You trade back from 24. And that 24th pick turns into Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma, who did not give up a sack last season. Played right tackle, but for a left-handed quarterback, so he was the blindside tackle. He'll play left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys. He's 6'8", 322.
Big boy.
Look, he's your day one left tackle starter if he's good enough. The draft guys that don't really know the Cowboys here on the ESPN article say Guyton is a plug-and-play right tackle, has the ability to eventually make the move to the left side. if Dallas wants to keep first rounder of 2022 Tyler Smith at left guard. They do. They want to keep him at left guard, and you don't have anybody else to move over to left tackle unless you play Idoga at left tackle. And then you're just not playing Terrence Steele, who you just re-signed to a new deal before last year.
Yep.
You're not going to do that. Terrence Steele's your right tackle. Tyler Guyton's your left tackle. And
you drafted him to be your left tackle.
That trade back also netted the third rounder, Cooper Beebe. And Cooper Beebe, who played guard for 17 years with Kansas State, legitimately a 4-year starter who played guard and tackle at Kansas State, mostly guard, has worked at center this offseason and worked at center in practice at Kansas State. He's 6'3", 320, big center if he plays center. You mostly see guys around 300 at center or even in the 290s now in the new NFL.
If they want him to play center, they'll knock him down, though.
But I think he is your day one starter at center. So trading back from Barton from Duke, the center, you trade back to get Guyton and Beebe. You had an edge rusher that I've never heard of from Western Michigan in round 2 because the Cowboys always take flyers in round 2. And then you have the Notre Dame linebacker in round 3, Marist Lufau, who people were comparing to Sean Lee. And then the rest of your picks are just picks, man. I don't know about any of them. Justin Rogers from Auburn. He's 6'3", 330. You know, a lot of teams take flyers on athletic guys in the 7th round. You took a flyer on a guy who had the worst RAS score, like in the combine. Does
that shock you, though?
He is the slowest. It's like me doing the combine things. It's just absolutely unathletic. But if he's just a run stopper, and you get him in the 7th, and he plays on first and second down, I mean, that's also a role you need, right? Not everybody has to be the guy out there playing 4 downs like Micah Parsons, who plays 17 different positions on defense. Overall, because you get 2 starters on the offensive line potentially, it is a good draft. I like the linebacker pick as well. You definitely needed a linebacker.
But you just got to have a linebacker that can stay healthy.
But to not draft a running back in the 4th round, you end up getting, you didn't have a 4th round pick, but to not get a running back in the 3rd, you needed a linebacker, you pass on a running back, but to not even get one in the 5th, 6th, or either of your 7th round picks, it's mind-blowing to me. Now, after the draft, Stephen Jones says we're looking at some veterans. Before the draft, it was reported that they were going to sign Zeke Elliott. They have signed Zeke Elliott. But let me read, Carson, the Dallas Cowboys depth chart at running back. You ready?
Go for it.
This has been updated. All right. Zeke Elliott, Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, Royce Freeman, Connor Snoop, Malik Davis, and Nathaniel Pete.
Yeah, that's so where I thought they should have gone and gotten the running back from Louisville, Jahar Jordan, I think is his name. Explosive kind of kid. I think he ended up getting picked by the Texans, to be honest with you. But I liked him at Louisville last year. Watched a few Louisville games. He rushed for 200 plus yards in a couple games. I think he has good upside. He's got good speed. But he's the kind of guy that you should have taken at like pick 174 instead of going Kalen Carson at DB. I like a running back like that. That's low risk, high reward. Really if he turns out to be a good running back, like that's the kind of guy that you should go after at pick 174 or pick 216. I don't know if he was there at 216. I don't know when the Texans took him.
This looks like the 6th round.
So it had to be like 230 somewhere is where they took him. Yeah, they took him 205.
29, okay. Yeah, pick 29.
So they took him before that. But you could have taken him instead of the defensive back. And then you probably could have still gotten another defensive back at 232 or whenever that pick was. But yeah, I really like Jahar Jordan.
Yeah. The Cowboys did sign an undrafted free agent as a running back, Nathaniel Pete from Missouri. Missouri's running back, he had 3 seasons at Stanford, last 2 years at Missouri. It says he rushed for 755 yards and 5 touchdowns. I'm assuming that's over 2 years at Missouri. So not incredibly productive. But at his pro day, he ran a 4.37. It had a 41-inch vertical and a 10-foot 8-inch broad jump. So you're bringing an athlete. Is he a Tony Pollard athlete? Probably not. He didn't get drafted. Yeah. Let me see. He is 5'10", 206 and runs a 4.37. 4.2 yards per carry in his final season.
How tall is he, you say?
5'10".
5'10".
Which NFL running back, that's plenty tall. Yeah, they also got Brevin Spanford from Minnesota at tight end. Jason Johnson, a linebacker out of UCF.
Is that the 6'8" tight end from Minnesota, or that kid went off early?
6'6", 250.
Yeah, he's a big kid.
Jason Johnson, the linebacker who had 1 billion tackles over the last 2 years. Second team All Big 12. Sneaky good pickup there in the undrafted. He had 100 tackles in 2021 with Eastern Illinois. Then he had 240 tackles over the last 2 seasons for the Knights. Jordan Brooks-esque, really good tackler. Don't know how much else he can do. You also have Brock Mogensen from South Dakota. Back-to-back 100 tackle seasons. He's 6'2", 235. You obviously had a thought that you needed more linebackers. So those are 2 guys that could absolutely play this year for the Dallas Cowboys as undrafted free agents because your linebackers are so thin. Alec Holler, the tight end out of UCF. Byron Vaughns, the defensive lineman out of Baylor. 84-inch wingspan, by the way.
Wow.
Cam Johnson, wide receiver out of Northwestern. Emily Johnson, safety out of Nevada. Julius Wood, East Carolina. Safety. Denzel Daxon, defensive tackle, Illinois. Corey Crooms, wide receiver, Minnesota. And then Josh DeBerry, safety from Texas A&M. The Cowboys are really good picking undrafted free agents. You've had a lot of success there.
I think you've had more success with undrafted free agents than you've had with actual guys that you've drafted.
That's not true. The back end
seems like it.
The Cowboys have
on defense, especially at linebacker.
Well, linebacker, your guys got hurt.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Wasted a bunch of money.
That's not the draft's fault. That's just guys get hurt.
That's true.
You sign Eric Kendricks to play linebacker. Then you also have Demarion Overshown, who you drafted early last year, that had the ACL tear.
Yeah. You hope he can get a full year this year. I think he has a lot of talent.
You hope. Okay.
You did sign Zeke Elliott though.
And then you signed Zeke Elliott today. Yeah, we talked about that a little. I kind of glazed over it when I was reading the depth chart earlier. Somebody says, Rob, what do you think of the Cowboys re-signing Ezekiel Elliott? They still don't have an RB1. It's true. They don't have an RB1.
Michael asked that. Yeah.
Who is even else available? I at this point you signed Royce Freeman. Derrick Henry wanted to come to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, but you didn't want to pay him
You ignore him. You don't even call him.
because you didn't want to pay him.
You didn't want to pay him, and that's what $7 million he got from the Ravens.
Yeah.
You're going to end up paying $3 million up to $4 million for Zeke Elliott.
Yeah. Washed.
If he plays in every game, I think
He won't.
that was the number I saw earlier. He might. What do you mean he won't?
He won't be healthy enough to play in every game. That's what I mean.
He's always been healthy.
Hmm.
That's never been a problem.
Not if he's got to be your RB1. Not if he's got to tote it every single time. Not if he's got to be that guy. He won't.
Well, I don't think he'll be that guy.
Right now he is. Who is?
He played in 17 games. Well, I mean, I'm saying he's not going to have 30 carries a game. You'll have Dowdle and Royce Freeman taking 10 snaps a game. I'm not saying it's a better option. I'm just saying that's not going to happen.
Oh,
he played in all 17. He played in all 17 last year and had 184 carries for 642 yards and 3 touchdowns for New England. Is he what he was at the height of his career? Hell no. He's not. He's absolutely not. He's not a receiving threat. He had 2 receiving touchdowns last year. I don't know how.
Just right on the goal line, I'm sure.
He had 3.5 yards a carry last year, which is brutal. 3.8 his final year in Dallas. Is he the worst running back in the NFL? No. But he's down there. He's not good anymore. He's not good anymore. It's a fine signing for depth, but I just don't understand signing Zeke after passing on Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, all the guys that were available, Josh Jacobs.
There were so many options
that were available.
And you have the money. Don't tell me you don't have the money.
Yeah. Well, you really
pay
don't.
One of those 3.
Figure it out.
Yeah. You can move some things around, restructure some things. Like it could have happened if they really wanted it to happen, but they didn't even try. Like they gave no qualms. Like they had no effort put into either of any of those names you just named off. They didn't go after any of them, which doesn't hurt my feelings because I'm not a Cowboys fan. I really like whenever Jerry Jones pisses off the Cowboys faithful by not doing what he's supposed to. But
all right.
But yeah, it just like I just it makes no sense. None of this makes the Zeke Elliott thing doesn't make sense to me.
You ready for this?
Sure.
Guys signed this offseason. Saquon Barkley, 3-year, $37 million contract. You're probably not doing that.
No.
Josh Jacobs, 4-year, $48 million contract. You're not doing that.
Same amount of money as Saquon.
Derrick Henry, 2-year, $16 million.
That's nuts. Derrick Henry for $8 million a year. Come on.
Let me just check something real quick. Derrick Henry is the same age as Zeke Elliott.
Is he really?
They
he was younger.
No, they both came in 2016.
That's true. That's a good point.
He just didn't. He just didn't start his first 2 seasons.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see.
Derrick Henry's had a better career than Zeke Elliott.
Better peak, yeah. 4.2 yards per carry last year. Derrick Henry.
Tennessee offensive line was not good.
Neither was the Patriots.
That's a good point.
DeAndre Swift signed with the Bears. 3 years, $24 million. Eckler, who is also washed, by the way.
Yeah.
Went with the Commanders for 8.5 for 2 years. Devin Singletary, Aaron Jones, 1 year, $7 million. The rest of them, Gus Johnson signed a 2-year, $6.5 million contract. The rest of these names are nobodies.
There's not a whole lot of like superstar running back in the NFL right now, right? Like because it's such a pass heavy league for the most part. there's not a lot of like superstar talent like what we used to see.
No, but I think there's a lot of really good running backs. Best remaining free agents. All right, would you rather have Zeke Elliott or any of these guys? You ready? Just tell me Zeke or the guy I mentioned.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, so Zeke or Dalvin Cook?
Neither.
Yeah.
Is that an answer?
Zeke or Rashad Penny?
Rashad Penny's younger, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Cam Akers, Josh Kelly, Latavius Murray. Stop me when you see somebody. Kareem Hunt.
probably Kareem Hunt over Zeke Elliott, yeah.
Same money, Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, same money.
Trying to find Kareem Hunt came in 2017, the year after. But woof. 2022, 3.8 yards a carry. 2023, 3.0 yards per carry.
Yeah, he's not been
not had 1,000-yard season since his rookie year in Kansas City.
After he left Kansas City, that whole thing, that whole, the whole thing with Kareem Hunt, his career is kind of tanked.
He really kicked his career into the
such promise to kind of just.
All right, Matt Breida.
I wouldn't take him over Zeke.
Jarrett McKinnon.
Nah.
Jacob Johnson, Kevin Smith, Boston Scott, Melvin Gordon. Brandon
It's kind of the same dude, right? Like Melvin Gordon and Zeke are the same person at this point.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
2 months ago, signing Zeke, I would have been incensed.
Would have been pissed off because there's other names out there. Yeah, that's fair.
Now, like, who else?
But aren't you still incensed by the fact that you didn't get somebody 2 months ago, 3 months ago when you had the opportunity to? Like, and then this is what you end up with? Like, that's not a good trade-off.
I'm more frustrated you didn't get or attain draft capital to draft a running back.
Good point.
I'm more upset you didn't get a linebacker in free agency like Jordan Brooks. Now, you did get Kendricks, whoever I just said earlier. But I am mildly upset that you didn't address this earlier. But at this point, it's like, who else? That's what I'm always talking about with people who want to fire somebody or move on from somebody or cut somebody. Who are you replacing them with? Like, you're signing Zeke Elliott here. Who else do you want to sign at this point? Would I have preferred a rookie drafted player? Yes. Do I think Rico Dowdle, who had limited attempts last year, can be maybe a guy with fresh legs? I don't know. He's on a 1-year deal too. He had 4 yards a carry last year in 89 attempts. He runs hard. It just, so many things have bothered me about the Cowboys in this offseason that, to me, this is low on the list. I guess I'm not as upset. I'm not as upset as other maybe Cowboys fans in this instance because of the rest of the level of pissed off I am about the Cowboys offseason to this point.
That's fair. It just, it's one of those deals where, like, the Kansas City Chiefs have Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and LaMichael Pirine. Like, those three running backs, any one of those three would be, and obviously Isaiah Pacheco is number one for the Chiefs. Obviously, he'd be number one for the Cowboys too. But you could bring Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Pirine in, and they might have a chance to be RB1 in Dallas. Right? Like, who? Strike up a trade. Clyde Edwards-Helaire
would be RB1 in Dallas over Zeke?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
He
had such a good year with in his first year with Pat. But Pacheco's in there because he's more athletic.
Clyde?
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah.
That's some revisionist history. He got hurt.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I bet he is. I bet he had a worse season than Zeke last year with the Patriots.
He averaged 3.2 yards a carry, same as Zeke.
Zeke was 3.5.
Okay, well, tomato.
Sure. Way less carries too.
His first 3 years in the league averaged 4.4, 4.3, 4.3.
And then 3.2 last year.
Yeah. His
So
carries went down tremendously in the last 2 years.
Played in 15 games last year, started 3. I just look. I know a lot of people think Zeke is washed. I think he has more in the tank than other guys give him credit for, but I don't know. I don't like it, but I've accepted it. It is what it is. I'm trying to find this dead cap space thing that the commenter said.
About Zeke's dead cap space?
Yeah.
Uh,
So in 2019,
do they pick it up or do the Patriots pick it up though?
No, this is part of the extension in 2019.
Oh.
Zeke Elliott signed a 6-year, $90 million deal with the Dallas Cowboys, including $7.5 million signing bonus, $50 million guaranteed, and an average of annual salary of $15 million a year. In 2024, Elliott will earn, while carrying a cap hit of $6 million, a dead cap value of $6 million.
There you go.
So technically, you've got $9 million potentially tied up into Zeke Elliott.
Yeah. Zach was pretty close. It's around 10 million.
But did
they overpay for Zeke in 2019?
Yes.
Big time, right? Like that's one of the worst contract extensions that they've given out in the last few years.
Well, and they jumped the gun. Don't make me relive that.
I think we hashed that out whenever it was happening on our everyday show. I think we had that conversation then.
From what I remember, you franchise tagged Dez.
Yep.
And let DeMarco Murray go.
Yeah.
Which is why you drafted Zeke at 4 in 16. And then you re-signed Zeke over Dak, which made you pay Dak way more when Dak came up.
Yep.
I think was the order of events there. I just...
And you paid Zeke Elliott to get worse.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, Ezekiel Elliott had 1,600 yards as a rookie, 14 as a third-year player, 13.5 in 2019 as a fourth-year player. So through 4 years, he's way better than Clyde. And then in the final 4 years of his career, 4.2, 3.8, 3.5 yards per carry, but with volume. He had 979 in 2020, 1,000 yards in 2021, 876 with way less carries, 231 carries in 22, which is last year with the Cowboys, and then obviously moving on to New England last year. Is it a bad signing? To any other team, probably not. But to any other team, he's a second or third running back. It just looks worse right now because he's listed as RB1. And this is before training camp or anything else. If you get the OTAs and he's not taking all the reps with the ones and you're putting whoever else in there. Now, I would rather have Zeke Elliott as a starting running back in the NFL than Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
With 20 carries per game. I want Deuce Vaughn to be a gadget player. I would like for him to play more.
Return guy, yeah.
But you can't play Turpin and Deuce Vaughn at the same time. I mean, they're the same player basically.
True.
So, do I want to get more creative? I'm more upset that all of your coaches and assistants are 70 years old, Carson. I mean, there are other things about the Cowboys that are bothering me. during the draft, somebody said Mike Zimmer, and I was like, "Oh, who is he with?" It's like, "Oh, F&A, he's with the Cowboys." Mike Zimmer is the Cowboys defensive coordinator. I put that out
He's
of my mind.
72 years old.
I put that out of my mind. So, I mean, I'm not an ageist, but it's ridiculous. All right, from one fire to the next. We'll talk about this really quickly. We're already an hour in here.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time on the draft.
Texas Tech baseball losing all 3 over the weekend. They scored 8 runs. The last time we spoke last Wednesday, we're talking about a frustrating
Sweep.
appearance. Well, we're talking about a frustrating appearance in
Yeah.
Mexico.
That's right.
But everything ahead of you, 9 Big 12 games left. We're talking about that Oklahoma State series as a series of importance in that final Big 12 weekend for you. We're talking about Oklahoma at home. We're completely glazing over the threat of Kansas. Solid pitching, but a program that you should go in and win once against. And you get absolutely torched after Friday, just not even really competitive on Saturday and Sunday. You get hit in the head on Saturday, Dylan Maxey. Thankfully, he's all right. Or Friday night. Thankfully, he's
Friday night.
I think all right. I don't want to put any words to that, but he was with the team on Sunday. But you also just have a meltdown on Friday night from your best reliever, arguably this year. And you have that classic Tim Tadlock. He's either going to pull you after the first pitch or let you walk 3 straight and burn your own filth. That's just the Tim Tadlock way. And is it frustrating as hell on a Friday night in the Big 12 pivotal Big 12 series? Yes. You're down yesterday. I've not looked today. Yesterday, you were down 15 spots in the RPI since last Sunday, from 25 to 40. And 25 is puncher's chance at hosting. 40, you're now at 41. 41 is holy hell. We might not be in the tournament at this point.
You're hoping for a 3 seed at this point, yeah.
And by the way, LSU, national champion last year, 42 in the RPI.
Yeah, LSU's they're gonna have to do some things in Hoover this year to get themselves in a bracket.
Texas at 58.
Yeah, Texas hit 8 home runs yesterday in the game 2. It's like 7 home runs. I was watching that Texas-Oklahoma game. They were playing a doubleheader on Sunday because of weather on Saturday or Friday, one of the 2 days.
But even worse, let me finish my thought here. But even worse with the RPI, you were ahead of Kansas State, UCF, West Virginia, TCU last week.
Now you're not.
Do you know who you're ahead of this week? Out of those 4?
Nobody.
None of them.
No, none of them. None of them. They're all ahead of you. I can see them right here. Yeah.
West Virginia 36, Kansas State 31, UCF 33. If this is a 6-bid league, you're 6th right now.
Yeah, Kansas improved theirs from 76 to 64.
If
they went up 12, you went down 20 almost.
If you're if you're the 6th best team in the Big 12 right now, which RPI wise you are, 500 in Big 12 play, you have to finish above 500 in Big 12 play. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Has to happen.
So you're all of a sudden coming from, hey, let's win 2 of these series and get in a really good position to be a great 2 seed, to, hey, let's win 2 series to get in the tournament. I mean, that's how thin the margin is from one week to the next.
That's where you are, Rob.
And you still have to play UTRGV because you're not going to cancel that, who beat Texas. And then you're going to have to play Arizona State twice for no reason at the end of the season, and UNLV, which you might need those games. at the end.
The only thing that helps you here at the end of the season is if you're able to right the ship and do something against Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, who are 18 and 21 in the RPI right now. Like, that's your only opportunity to have a shot to boost your RPI ranking enough to where you're not sitting on that, last four in, last four out bubble, and somebody steals a bid and wins the SoCon, say, Wofford wins the SoCon, and all of a sudden there's a 2-bid league at the SoCon, and now you're out because they got a two bids. Yeah, Arizona State's the 89th RPI team, and UNLV is probably somewhere down further. I haven't seen them. Houston's sitting at 108. You swept them.
Yeah,
Golly.
good for you. Yeah, Arizona State 89.
Baylor at 119. You lost the series to Baylor, by the way.
Keep going. UNLV was in
Good.
200s.
Gosh almighty.
Keep going. 219.
219. Wow.
There's one game against them. And then
Yeah.
UTRGV, I'm assuming it's better than 219.
Yeah, that Texas Southern series really helped you too. They're at 198. So New Mexico 202. And you got drubbed by New Mexico.
Carson, this is not looking good.
No. You're gonna have to win a lot of games here at the end, this tail end of the schedule, Rob. Otherwise, you're gonna be sitting at home on Selection Sunday and your name ain't getting called, bud.
Man, Oral Roberts, 283. Utah Tech, who, if you remember, beat Oklahoma State, 282 in the RPI.
Yeah.
I don't even see UTRGV. I'm not.
UTRGV 238.
238. I went from the bottom.
238. Yeah.
And that's they're a winning baseball team, person. They're a winning baseball team, 21 and 18. But because of who they play outside in their conference, they just don't.
Their conference is horrendous too.
They're underwater.
The WAC is not good.
How are they under conference? What in the world?
Yeah, the WAC is not good.
All right, they beat Rhode Island 2 out of 3. Swept Milwaukee.
Great.
Lost to the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders. Lost the series to Austin P. Beat Oakland. Lost 2 out of 3 to Grand Canyon. 2 out of 3 beat Utah Tech. 2 out of 3 beat UTA. Canceled both the TCU games. Beat Texas 17-9 after losing to Utah Valley. You know what this tells me? Their best pitcher pitches in the midweek.
Pitches on Tuesday, yeah. Which doesn't bode well for the Red Raiders tomorrow. Yeah. It's one of those deals, Rob, where this whole season has just felt like you get a little bit of momentum, and then all of a sudden, like, it just you don't know how to sustain.
The last 3 seasons have felt like this.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, good point. You just don't know how to sustain success. You don't know how to live with success. And I don't know if that's just like kids these days, like the college athlete in today's day and age. I mean, you look at like what Ole Miss did 2 years ago. They go and win a national title, and they had to pretty much go on a run at the end of the season just to get into the tournament, and they go on a run and win an Natty, and then they missed the tournament the last 2 years. Like, and I don't know that they're going to make a tournament this year. Will Ole Miss. And so this happens across the board. It's not just like it's only happening at Texas Tech. Texas is struggling with this. Texas is a good baseball team, but Texas has struggled in the same ways that Texas Tech is struggling, and where they'll play really good baseball for a couple games, right? They'll play really good baseball for 1 week. Then the next week, it's like, we're a completely different team. We're now the Bad News Bears. I don't know that that's just because that's how kids are. If that's just the way baseball is, and baseball's a fickle game, you 2 weeks, like, it happens. But yeah, it's frustrating, and I understand frustration from the fan base. I understand the frustration from uh, people wanting the pitching staff, the pitching coach to get fired, and all these things. But what I would say is like the pitching coach can't go out there and throw strikes for these guys. He can't go out there and execute a pitch in the outside corner and you bleed one over the middle of the plate. Like Matt Gardner's not the one going out executing pitches. Matt Gardner's also the guy who's coached all these dudes that are in the minor league systems of all these teams that you're going to see pitching in the big leagues. So, like, that's where I understand where you're coming from and your frustration, but you have to understand how this works, right? Like, my pitching coach in college couldn't make me throw strikes. He couldn't make me unscared of tearing my arm again because I'm breaking off a curveball, and so I choke every one of them the first few times I go out there. Like, he's not doing that. I'm the one doing that. You have to give a little responsibility to the team. I don't think Tim Tadlock has changed a single thing of how he's coached this team versus the teams that have gone to the World Series, right? Like that team that went in the first year in 2014. Nobody thought that team would get to the World Series. Nobody thought you go to Miami and you're a 3 seed or a 2 seed and you're thinking, cool, we're in another regional. This is cool. It's been a while, right? Like no expectations. But now the expectation is like if you're not at the top of the conference, if you're not winning regionals, if you're not hosting regionals, then the sky is falling, fire everybody, clear the house. I don't get lifetime contracts, all this crap. Come on, man. Like I understand you're upset. I understand that the team is not where you want them to be. The team is not where they want to be. Like, let's get that straight too.
Yeah.
It's frustrating in the dugout. It's frustrating in the clubhouse. It's frustrating outside of the clubhouse. But at some point, now it goes one or two ways here. You either stick with it and you stick to your guns and you just ride this thing out and you try and play the best baseball you can for the next 3 weeks and see where it leaves you, or you fall apart completely. You lose to UTRGV. You get swept at home by Oklahoma, and you get ready for next year, right? Like that's your two options. And it can go either way at this point. So it's kind of up to the dudes that go and step out in between the lines. The coaching staff can't help you. This is a very, very talented baseball team. They've got talent. It's not like they didn't recruit talent. You've got one of the best lineups in the Big 12 when they're on. You've got dudes up and down the lineup. You've got one of the best young players I think in college baseball in your second baseman, shortstop in TJ Pompey. And you've got some of the best pitching that's there too. You've got good dudes on the mound. Now, do you have the Brandon Birdsels and Davis Martins and guys like that? You don't have one of those guys this year, but you still got dudes who can get the job done. And you've just got to let them play.
If you make the NCAA tournament this year, it'll be 8 straight.
Yeah.
15 to 14, there was no tournament in 20.
Right.
I believe, now the number I just saw was from 2020. There were 4 teams that had 10 straight in 2020. Florida State, one of them, they've since missed. LSU's been there. Vanderbilt was one of them. Vanderbilt, I believe, has the longest streak currently.
Yeah.
And that started in 2006, and they've been there since.
And look, Vanderbilt, one of their best teams that Tim Corbin ever had, got beaten their own regional as the number 1 overall seed one year.
Yeah.
And that's just baseball, dude. Like one of the best teams Tim Tadlock had at Texas Tech got beat by Sam Houston State.
Yeah, well, here, hold on. You ready? So they have, from 2006 to 2023, they've been in the NCAA tournament. They have 5 College World Series appearances. Texas Tech in the same span as 4. Right? Yeah. The only difference, championship.
Yeah. You've got to the final weekend and given yourself a chance. Yeah.
But at this point in Tim Corbin's tenure versus Tim Tadlock's tenure, they're in the same spot. Okay? He takes over Tim Corbin in 2003, goes to a regional in 2004, and then wins in his 11th season in 2014, the national championship. Tim Tadlock, about in his 11th season now, has been to as many Omahas as Tim Corbin has been to in 20 years. He's been here half the time.
Yeah.
You're on an unreal run right now. You just don't have the big one. By the way, Mike Martin, 42 years straight in the NCAA tournament. They didn't make it last year, I guess, or the year before. Never won a national championship.
The year before they fired his son. Now they're
whenever it was.
Yeah, never won a national title. Yeah, and Florida State is one of the you if you say blue bloods of college baseball, Florida State's up there in that argument, right? Like because Florida State was always in Omaha playing at Rosenblatt Stadium. Like that's a team that I grew up. I loved Florida State because they were always in Omaha. Right? Like them and Miami were two of my favorite teams in college baseball, and LSU. That's why I was an LSU fan, a Florida State fan, and a Miami fan because you get to watch them play college baseball every year. And I hated Cal State Fullerton because I never liked Augie Garrido. And Cal State Fullerton was just that stubborn team that would never go away. And when Augie Garrido was at Cal State Fullerton and all those years that the Titans were in the College World Series, it felt like and you just got used to the same teams going. And then Texas was there quite a bit. Texas has been in the College World Series and has won more baseball national titles than most teams. USC, I think, has the most college baseball titles. They haven't won since the 90s, I don't think. But yeah, it's just like people get so fired up about things that they don't understand. And until you've been in that situation, let me put it this way. It wasn't the Division I NCAA level, but it's still baseball. At the NAI level that we played at, you had really good, talented players. Like we had on the team my freshman year at LCU, we had a guy named Gary Pointer that was the number 2 starter at Arkansas the year prior. He ran out of NCAA eligibility, but NAIA rules, there are no rules. You have one more year of eligibility left. Come play at LCU. And Gary Pointer's a stud, throwing 94, 96. Fastball rides up in the zone. This is before the power fastball was big time. And that team rattled off like 40 something straight wins and then doesn't even get to the World Series. That team with that dude and Chris Holguin, we had the top 3 pitchers on that team all got drafted that year. Every single one of them. And you don't even get to the World Series. And that's probably one of the best teams I've ever sat in the dugout with. I didn't really play. Sat in the dugout. I think I got to play 2 games that year. And then the next year, it's a good team. I don't know that it was a better team than the year before, but you put it together and we won a national title. And then 2 years later, we were a team that my final year there, we were a team that struggled early. Like I think we got swept at Oklahoma City that year. We didn't win the conference. We ended up playing really well towards the end of the year, hosting our regional. I think we won the conference tournament maybe or got second. And we hosted a regional and get to the World Series and get to the national title game and lose to Concordia in the national title game. And that team would probably have lost to the team my freshman year. But that's how the game works, right? Like that's just baseball at the end of the day. Like sometimes the best team isn't always the team that wins the national title. Like it's the team that's playing the best baseball at the right time. Right now, there's teams around the country that are playing good. Arkansas has been good all year for the most part. So has Texas A&M. Texas A&M is dangerous with where they're at in their lineup. Jace Lavalette, all those dudes can go. Their pitching staff is great. Jim Schlossnagle has taken what TCU did for so many years, and now it's at Texas A&M, and the Aggies are loving it. Probably one of the best hires Texas A&M has ever made by getting Jim Schlossnagle away from TCU. But yeah, I mean, but Texas A&M being as good as they have been, and they'll host a regional, they might be the number 1 overall seed. unless it's going to be Arkansas or A&M. But that doesn't guarantee that they're going to go to Omaha. So, I mean, it just baseball is a funky sport, man. You can, like I said, you can play really bad baseball for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you figure it out and you play really good baseball for the rest of the year, and you end up in Omaha and you just see what happens. That's how Texas Tech made it their first time, right? Like, they weren't a great team, but they started playing their best baseball at the right time. They got in that Miami regional. You get in the winner's bracket, and good things happen when you get in the winner's bracket. So all you got to do is get in. You just got to play well enough here at the end of this end stretch to get into the tournament, and then see what happens, man, because that's what matters. Just get in, see what happens.
Yep.
Notre Dame did that 3 years ago. They get into the Georgia Southern Regional. They win the Georgia Southern Regional. They go to Tennessee, the number 1 overall national seed in Tennessee, and this pitching staff that is a gauntlet, and Notre Dame wins 2 out of 3. And then they go to the College World Series, and I think they're in the final series. If not, they lose before the final series. I think that was one of the years Vanderbilt won as well. But
Oklahoma beat them.
Yeah, Oklahoma beat them. That's right.
Oklahoma's in the final series.
That's right. Yeah, Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma.
Ole Miss, Oklahoma.
Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Yep, that's right. Yeah, and so
Oklahoma wasn't good that year until the last month.
They figured it out, and they had one of the best pitchers in Cade. Now I can't remember what his name was, but anyway,
Cade, not Cunningham. Cade. Nope. That's gonna bother me.
I think he's already in the big leagues by now too. But yeah, it just is one of those. I always go back to my favorite reference is the Fresno State national title year.
Cade Horton.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep. But Fresno State won a national title back in the Rosenblatt days, and this is a team that was a 3 seed. They had to win the WAC tournament just to get into the NCAA tournament. And they're like a 6 seed in the WAC tournament, 5 seed, something like that. They win the WAC tournament, win a regional as a 3 seed or a 4 seed, go and win a super regional, and then they go to the World Series and win a national title. Like, that's just baseball. So yeah, all these people wanting to fire coaches and doing all these things. No. Look, I've
such a whipsaw season.
Yeah.
You lose to UCF, and then you sweep Houston, and then you lose a series to TCU, and then you sweep West Virginia, and then you get swept by Kansas. It's just like there's not.
Yeah.
You're not consistent.
Yeah, that's fair. And this team is inconsistent, and we've seen some of those inconsistencies. And it's at the plate, it's on the mound, it's in the field. This might be one of your worst fielding percentage teams under the Tim Tadlock era.
If Texas Tech has a losing record in the Big 12 this year, which is possible, be the first time under Tim Tadlock.
Yeah. Which, look, sometimes you're just not going to be that. You're just not going to be that team, right?
It's 2013.
It's going to happen. Mississippi State and Ole Miss are the best 2 examples of that. Like, Mississippi State won a national title, missed the tournament. Ole Miss won a national title, missed the tournament, didn't even finish in the top 8 in the conference.
Yeah, didn't even go to the SEC tournament.
No, didn't even go to the top. They didn't finish in the top 12 of the conference because that's who goes to the SEC tournament in Hoover. So yeah, give me a break.
And my question again, I mentioned this earlier with Zeke Elliott. If you want to fire Tim Tadlock, which I've heard, I've seen, which is
the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Almost dropped the R word, which is stupid. It's retarded too. If you want to fire Tim Tadlock, who do you want to replace him? And if you think Texas Tech is bad right now because of NIL, because you can't compete with Arkansas, these are all things I've seen. This is not
compete with Arkansas because they have a 12,000, 14,000 seat stadium, and they put it all in on baseball.
I'm just saying what I've heard.
Like, it's the SEC, man. It's different.
If you can't compete with the SEC NIL stuff, if you can't compete with that, if you can't do this, if you can't do that with Tim Tadlock, who else are you doing it with?
Great question, Rob.
Like, at some point, At some point, it's a program's failing, or maybe in this new era, a program's hindrances that will make it tougher to play in this era. Maybe you've seen your best baseball at Texas Tech because you're getting passed in a lot of other venues. Now we go back full circle, and we'll finish the show with this to Zeno's question. Fazino, I don't know how you say that name. Phonixo? Phoenix, Fonzino? Do we
He's probably
actually have
gone by
enough
now,
cash
too.
to be only decent at football and a fringe top 25 basketball team? Unpopular take, but I'm not sure Lubbock is sustainable for football. If you're sustainable for something, it is football. Because
Yes,
of the Matador Club, because of Dusty and Cody and the money at the top of this athletic department, if you're going to be good at something, if you're going to put money into something, it's football. If you're going to put in something past football, it's basketball. Because basketball is a revenue-generating sport. You put $31 million or whatever into the Womble for both teams, the men and the women. You've obviously you have the USA from back in the day, but still a top arena in the Big 12, 15,000 seats.
Yeah, still a great arena.
If you're going to put money into something else, is it track sprinters? What's next? Is baseball next? Do you have a guy out there that has $3 million to say, here's $3 million, you can allocate it here and here, but $1 million of it's going to 3 NIL guys for baseball, so we can get a bullpen of 97-mile-an-hour throwing left-handers. I don't think you have that kind of NIL support like a Tyson Chicken or Walmart or Jerry Jones is doing for Kentucky right now in basketball and baseball. Arkansas. But I also think Arkansas is in a rare position to be one of the teams that really steps up through NIL if they have good coaching and atmosphere. And they do in baseball. They have a good coach. I don't like him. He's an a-hole, but they have a good coach. So I think it's more than NIL, more than having a good coach, more than roster building, more than development. It's all of that together. And I think right now in Lubbock, you have 3 of the 5, 2 of the 5, 3 of the 5, but you don't have all 5. And that's why you're not excelling like an A&M. But who is? A&M and Arkansas?
But the argument to that is like, look at what Dallas Baptist does. They don't have NIL. Dallas Baptist doesn't have anywhere close to what your NIL productivity is. Their only Division I sport is baseball. They're Division II in every single thing else.
Sure.
Dallas Baptist is not pushing NIL money to recruits. Like, that's not what's happening. You look at Indiana State, like they don't Terre Haute, Indiana ain't exactly a destination that you're going to go to play baseball.
Yeah, they're not
right?
in the Big 12, Carson. They're not competing with the Big 12.
But they're one of the top teams in the country right now. Like, they're ranked in the top 10. They're ranked in the top 10 in the RPI. You look at in East Carolina, they're in the AAC. I mean, like, I don't understand what you want as far as like NIL and all these things are considering. Here's the thing. Oklahoma State built this brand new great facility.
Yeah.
That's going to drive some of the guys that should go to Texas Tech that might have gone to Texas Tech 5 years ago before O'Brate Stadium was built. That's going to take them to Oklahoma State because of facilities. Sure. Texas Tech needs to build facilities before you worry about NIL. Sure. Like, Dan Law Field was outdated 20 years ago.
Yeah.
20 years ago, Dan Law Field was outdated. The next thing that needs to be done in Lubbock at Texas Tech University is a rebuild of the baseball facility.
That's one of the 5 I was just saying. Yeah, your facilities, I don't think are par.
That is number one. I don't care. You save the NIL money.
What you're saying,
build a new stadium.
But listen to what you're saying again. You're saying Texas Tech is on par with Dallas Baptist and Indiana State, and fans' expectation is that you're on par with Arkansas and LSU.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're not. You're not on par with either of those. You're not on par with any of the SEC schools out there.
Right, but
like maybe Missouri.
It's frustrating from a fan perspective, not a baseball perspective. It's frustrating from a fan perspective to be in a Power 5 whatever conference, to be in the Big 12, and to have NIL and facilities on par with Dallas Baptist and Indiana State.
Well, Dallas Baptist facilities are better than yours.
Now, if you're right, and that's the only thing they put money into. That's the only one.
Yeah.
It's their only D1 program.
Yeah.
So, anyways, breaking news: the Kansas City Chiefs have given an extension to Travis Kelce. He's agreed on a new 2-year contract extension to make him the NFL's highest-paid tight end.
I mean, even Rob, West Virginia has a better facility than you do.
I'm not arguing any of that.
So does UCF, Kansas State. I mean, Oklahoma's facility isn't huge, but it's nicer.
Yeah.
Their softball facility is a lot nicer than their baseball facility.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just like I understand the frustration and I understand it, but you can't start like wanting to be or thinking that you are these teams, these programs when you're not even close. Like you're not even in the same stratosphere. You're on the level of, I mean, Angelo State's ballpark is nicer than Danlaw Field. They remodeled that whole park in Angelo. Place is nice. It's great. Chairback seats everywhere. No bleachers. Except for maybe down the lines a little bit. Like it's one of those deals that the first thing that has to be done is the stadium needs to be renovated. It needs to be torn down, completely taken down and rebuilt. It's 20 years overdue, to be honest with you. I mean, it's you look at what even like what Vanderbilt's about to build.
Sure.
And I know that's SEC. Like Vanderbilt Stadium is equivalent to what yours looks like a little bit with all the metal bleachers and just not a great looking baseball stadium. They've done a lot to it over the years.
Yeah.
They're about to totally renovate the whole thing.
The Danlaw Field has backs on every seat. It's just benches.
Yeah, it's bleacher seats. Yeah,
but there's backs. There's backs everywhere.
Every seat in the stadium at O'Brate Stadium, except for the outfield bleachers, is chair backed. Just saying.
I like the general admission spots in Danlaw.
I don't mind the bleachers.
Look, you got to be tough enough to sit in a bleacher, man.
Yeah, that's fair. But
fans are soft.
But also, like, I just want Texas Tech has had the success. You have the head coach, you have the pieces in place to be one of the top tier programs. Because look, Tim Tadlock's thought of as one of the best head coaches in the country by a lot of baseball guys. Here's the
next question. A, do you see that happening? Do you see a new stadium happening? B,
not unless you get some money.
B, does Tim Tadlock, when a job comes open again, finally take the leap because things aren't happening? Now, they just spent, $12 million on the new offices and locker rooms and
clubhouse, yeah.
Revamped the clubhouse and the indoor. They got an indoor
That's
facility
cool
because they renovated the old locker room into an indoor facility.
Yeah, I still don't understand why they did all of that, but instead of just building a whole new facility. But anyway. Because now what do you do whenever you decide to move?
Well, if you move to the green space out in front of the Jones, it's just across the street. You leave the clubhouse where it is.
You just put it in the outfield?
No,
like over the left center field fence?
It doesn't have to be connected.
That's what I mean. It can be like a spring training clubhouse where, you can walk to it underneath. Like you go into the dugout and you can walk underneath the bleachers and get into the clubhouse. Yeah,
that's a 1/10 of a mile, maybe.
Yeah,
it's a block away.
Something has to be done though, because Danlaw Field is.
Look, if I had $50 million, Carson, I'd give it to Texas Tech, and I would say, listen, you're going to build probably more than that. If I had $200 million, Carson, I'd say you're going to build an elite 6,000 seat stadium that can extend with a berm to 8,000, and you're going to build it with the outfield facing Jones Stadium as the backdrop over in that green space.
I guess we just need to look
And
back. I
then,
got to find that stadium I built a few years ago and
sure.
show
and
it.
and then with the rest of the money, after you've built the new facility, you can leave the clubhouse. You're going to tear down Dan Law after you've built the other one, and you are going to build in that space an elite track and field venue
Love that.
and expand their footprint in the outdoor space right where it is, and have bleachers, and you could repurpose the Dan Law stuff for the track and field if you wanted to somehow. Um, Hell, just tear down the fence and move the track over inside Dan Law Field, whatever you want
It
to
would
do.
also be really cool to build the soccer facility on campus as well too. Like bring it over. I guess technically it is on campus, but
Let's take
yeah,
the time. They just resodded that thing. Let's.
good point. They
I
did just
only
put
have
natural grass down.
I only have $200 million, Carson. I would build the baseball stadium,
Yeah.
and then I would repurpose where Dan Law is currently to a track and field facility.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's in the cards. I do not think that will ever happen. If something happens, you'll renovate Dan Law where it is, and it's not going to be wholesale changes. It's going to be small changes like it was last time.
Look, and Obrate Stadium in Stillwater cost them $70 million.
Top of the line.
70 million, and that is one of the nicest parks in the whole entire country.
Sure.
It's probably the nicest park in the Big 12 for sure. It's not the biggest, but you don't need the biggest. Like you don't need to build a bomb stadium 12,000 seats strong, right? Like
No. 6.
that wouldn't work in Lubbock.
Yeah, 6 is fine.
7,000 max, right? Like
6 with berm seating.
Yeah, outfield seating like grassy knoll seating, yeah, whatever.
Stay away from the grassy knoll, but
we're not in Dallas.
We're not in Dallas.
And there's not a library near there. But yeah, or observatory, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked with a couple of Tech baseball players a couple of years ago. You know this, you've seen some of the mock up, but we built just sitting around, hanging out, working during the summer. They were working for us, and we kind of just built like a dream Rip Griffin Park at Dan Law Field, and it's pretty cool. I'll have to go find where I put the hard drive thing that I put that on, and maybe we can show that to the public one day and get some. Maybe that'll make somebody say, "Hey, I got $70 million I can give to Texas Tech to build a baseball stadium."
Yeah. Bruce says the 2 programs at Texas have had the best recent success have also had the crappiest facilities. I disagree with that. Technically the indoor track team has been the best, and they have great facilities there.
State of the art facilities, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yes, I think there is certainly something to be done with the outdoor facility there with track. And look, if maybe I cut it to $100 million after I win the lottery and do that for the baseball team, you could build a really nice 6,000 seat stadium for $50 million. And if you couldn't, if somebody put in $50 million, you could get the rest.
Yeah.
And maybe Carson, maybe it's Josh Young Stadium in 15 years that you finally get built with Josh Young.
When he signs that new deal after his 6 years are up.
With Josh Young and Jace Young, the Young Family Stadium, Tadlock Field at Young Family Stadium. With both of those guys coming up, maybe Parker Mashinsky can throw in a couple dollars if he's still in the league around there.
Brandon Birdsell will have quite a bit of money at that point. Yeah.
John McMillan, the Hampton and
Chase Hampton,
who are with the Yankees. I mean, you're 15 years away from having a bunch of millionaires.
You just call it alumni stadium. Is what you call it. Yeah.
But I just can you wait for that? I don't
Yeah.
know. And again, I don't have the money to do it, so who am I to say to just go rip it and do it? But I mean, I think if there was a plan, I think it would be in action already. So I don't think that's the plan. And because they put that $12 million thing down the left field line at the current Danlaw Field, uh, the RIP they call it, put it there at the RIP. I always called it the law, but
yeah. Well, the younger generation calls it the RIP. We call it the law because it wasn't Rip Griffin Park whenever we were growing up.
putting it there at the RIP, and that says to me that they're there. They're going to be there, and they're going to move around.
Yeah.
So
and yeah. I don't. What are Bruce said the two programs at Tech that have had the most success? I would be curious to know.
Baseball and track.
Yeah.
Why not go
get money from Mahomes?
And you might. You absolutely
might.
And if Mahomes could give, I don't know, a couple million a year, and you save
he already owns one baseball team.
But it could be that Mahomes says, "I'm going to give you $5 million a year," and they're all going to go to football. I mean, that's his money to put it where he wants it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's one of those deals that it's so far overdue that now it's something that they really need to. And I know that the football facilities has been number one on the docket for the last 10 years, and baseball's kind of taken a back seat. And the indoor facility was the first step, getting rid of the bubble, the ATC, putting in the brand new indoor perfect. It's beautiful. And then getting rid of the south end zone and putting in the new locker rooms.
Well, even before
that,
you redid the entire east side, you redid the entire west side, you redid the north side.
So the football stadium's almost complete, and now then you can start going and doing all the other things that need to be done. And number one on that list needs to be the baseball stadium.
Yeah, but you're $100 million away from completing that funding.
I know. Yeah.
Stadium. So
I agree.
You're way behind. So
I know.
I don't know. I don't know.
There are some upgrades coming to our alma mater though, across town at the Lone Star Conference champs.
I would like to talk to Tim Tadlock off the record, and I probably will never get that opportunity to truly get his feelings.
Yeah,
but I would guarantee you, if asked in a press conference, Tim, do you want a new stadium? He would say, it's all about playing baseball, and we can play baseball wherever we are.
Tim Tadlock does not care what stadium he plays baseball in, but he also knows that if you build something that's extravagant and nice and state of the art and top of the line, that it's going to attract young people to come play for you.
Yeah, the public facing Tim Tadlock doesn't care.
No,
I have to wonder if the private facing Tim Tadlock cares.
Maybe we'll be able to go play golf or something this summer with him, and I can pick his brain a little bit.
We can fish. We fish at the pond.
Maybe we can go play golf and fish. Same trip. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there are a lot of issues in college sports. And I think Texas Tech baseball is indicative of a lot of the issues that have sprung up over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
With the NIL, with the arms race, and facilities coming to baseball. We saw that all in football in the last 15 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing it in baseball. And the SEC has Duty Noble, it has Bluebell, it has Baum, it has O'Brate here in the Big 12. There's a lot of AAA ballparks.
Well, Florida just built a brand new nice facility.
A bunch of AAA ballparks here in college baseball right now, and you have a really nice high school stadium.
Yeah, and that it looks exactly like you go to Abilene and play at Crutcher Scott Field at ACU. That hasn't changed since they were a Division II team, except for the turf on the field and the scoreboard, maybe. But it's the same exact stadium.
What
Like-
what updates are happening at Hayes Field?
New wall being put in. They'll finally get a padded wall, which will make the outfielders feel good.
Oh,
Supposedly
a
they
wall,
are
a
going to
real wall?
reconfigure the seating as well. So we'll see about that. But some changes that are possible at Hayes Field over the coming year,
Possible. Okay.
and new turf put down.
Is this breaking news?
Kinda,
You're talking out of turn here.
but I think if you're around LCU, you know that it's happening. Yeah.
I would be interested to see what reconfiguring seating means because past the
You got that's a lot of concrete. That's a lot of concrete to
yeah,
tear out.
past the baseline is just concrete seating.
Yeah.
Private benches, it's just concrete slabs.
Yeah. So yeah, it's but they're putting in a new wall, outfield wall, because now Division II schools they're making it to where baseball wise you have to have a padded wall for safety reasons.
Wow.
The NCAA is kind of cracking down on those things. So yeah, they'll be getting that. I think new turf might be going down.
Is it a new wall or are they just padding the wall?
I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. If you have to put up a new wall, like break down the cinder blocks, or if you just put the pads on top of the cinder block. I don't know how that happens. So
They have all those trees out there. I wonder if they'll reconfigure the outfield at all.
yeah, I don't know. But LCU won the Lone Star Conference yesterday. First Lone Star Conference championship. First, not the first conference title. A lot of conference titles over the years, especially under Nathan Blackwood and Larry Hayes and all those guys.
First D2 conference,
But second D2, technically the third one, but the first one, they were in the Heartland. They were still on probationary because moving NAI to D2, they got first, but they weren't allowed to make the postseason, so it didn't count. Still got rings for it and everything, but won another Heartland there last year in the Heartland, and this is their first Lone Star Conference regular season title. They'll host, so like I know Texas Tech plays at home this coming weekend, but LCU's hosting St. Edwards in a best of 3 in the first round of the Lone Star Conference tournament. And then if they win that, they'll host the remaining 4 teams in a double elimination sort of regional type bracket. And then if they win that, then they'll probably host a regional and a super regional. So I know Texas Tech won't be hosting, but LCU will be hosting, and the ballpark can hold you. They had a great crowd yesterday. I was lucky to do the game on the TV and the play-by-play, and there was a great crowd yesterday. At 14 seniors on this LCU team, and a few of those guys have transferred over from Texas Tech over the last few years. So, some names that some Tech fans, if you're not going to watch Texas Tech play at Oklahoma State or wherever late in the season, go to Hayes Field and watch some good college baseball, and they've got some local guys. I mean, you look at a guy like Jared Gibson, who's from Lubbock Cooper. He's been in the LCU for a long time, played in 150 plus games in his collegiate career, and one of the best catchers. He's a Division I caliber catcher. Like, he could have played at the Division I level if he wanted to. Good arms. The best. Carson Ogilvy would start at shortstop for Texas Tech right now. The kid's the leadoff hitter, hitting 400 plus, 13 home runs, 14 home runs, something like that. Leads the team in home runs, RBIs. The leadoff hitter. So base hits, everything. Should be the Lone Star Conference Player of the Year.
Hitting 438.
There you go, 438 after yesterday.
57 RBI, 11 home runs, 7
It's pretty
triples.
good.
Oh,
it's pretty good.
23 walks.
Look at his stolen base. Look at his stolen bases too.
500 on base percentage.
Yeah.
So that's an OPS of 1,200.
Yeah. The only reason Carson Ogilvy's not playing at some big time Division I school, he's undersized.
Yeah, he's 5'10".
On a good day.
5'10", 180 it says.
I was 5'10" in the media guide too.
Yeah.
I'm 5'8" on a good day.
Let's see. Ryan Ball from Texas Tech.
Yeah, Ryan Ball transferred from Texas Tech. Colson Abel transferred from Texas Tech, a pitcher. He pitched really well yesterday, left-hander. I think Aiden Auger is another guy who might have transferred from Texas Tech. Left-handed starter. So, few transfers from Texas Tech on the team. You got Bo Hogaboom, who used to be a really big-time quarterback at Aledo or Argyle. I mean, I think we won a state title as the main QB1 at Argyle. So they've got good team. They've got a good team. Yeah. Really like their second baseman, Frainer Chavez. If he wasn't undersized, he'd be a guy who's
What time are the games this weekend?
not sure yet. They haven't come out with the schedule for the weekend yet, but we can get into that on Wednesday.
Maybe I catch the game at LCU. I've been down there. I've been down there this year. Oh, Jet Carroll, freshman from Coronado.
Yeah, he's on the team. Brevin McCool was named the Lone Star Conference Hitter of the Week.
I mean, I knew they were really focusing on local talent, but Coronado, Cooper, Friendship,
A lot of local talent on the squad. Yeah.
Slayton.
Yep. Bushland. Logan Ellis pitched yesterday. He's from Bushland.
Littlefield, Lubbock, Estacado, Lubbock, Cooper. That's Jared Gibson.
Jared Gibson. Yeah. Jackson Edwards as well. Another Lubbock product.
Bushland.
Backup catcher.
Are we calling that West Texas?
Yeah. Bushland's 806. It's local.
Nazareth.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had a baseball program.
Yes, they do. They've gone to the state tournament a few times.
Jake Sherrard.
Yep. Friendship kid. Bobby Sherrard's son, yes.
Is that who that is?
Yep.
Bobby.
Yep.
Another Lubbock kid, Layden White. Friendship, Josh Akers. Hobbs, that's West Texas. Brevin McCool.
Yep.
Coronado, Jackson Edwards. Friendship, Jacob Gutierrez. Midland, Lubbock. That's pretty awesome.
Jacob Gutierrez is one of the best young players in the conference. So he's only a sophomore. He hit 400 something this year as well. Dealt with some injuries, but yeah.
That guy is competitive.
Yeah. And then, you also have Jesse Benavides on the team, who's a third generation Chaparral. His granddad, Jesse Benavides, was the first All-American in LCU's history. So, and then his dad, Eric, played at LCU. So he's from San Antonio, but he's a local product kid too. Went to Midland Junior College, then finishes up his career at LCU. But yeah, LCU's got a good team, and Texas Tech's not going to be hosting anything, so community can go out and support the Chaparrals and try and get them onto the Division II College World Series, which is played in Cary, North Carolina.
How does the postseason work? Do you host? Is it just like
regional is hosted the same exact way as a Division I, and then you host a super regional in the same way.
And then the World Series is
and then you go to the World Series. Yep. The World Series is in Cary, North Carolina at the training USA Baseball.
Final 8?
Yep.
So 4 teams will come.
And there's 8 regions. So how it works is there's 8 regions.
Yeah.
There's 2 regional tournaments to each region, and then the super regional clashes with the 2 best teams of your region. They don't send like LCU or somebody in this region to California. You're only playing your Southwest region, which is the RMAC and the Lone Star Conference.
Oh, so if you make a super, you're probably hosting.
Yeah. If you win the regional or the super regional, you're probably hosting. Because as of yesterday, West Texas A&M going into the weekend, West Texas A&M was the number 1 team in the region. Colorado Mesa, I think, was number 2. And then you were number 3, but you won the conference title over West Texas A&M, who got second. So you should probably jump them and be near the top, if not the top team in the region. So, and you've put in the bid to host a regional, you put in the bid to host a super. So if you win the conference tournament, you've got a really good chance to host both. So LCU's got their best baseball in front of them too.
April 24th, you're ranked 18th.
Yeah, they were ranked 10th coming into this weekend in the country. You got to look at regional
Oh, you
rankings in
move-
Division II, though.
So you move up to this is the NCBW, the National College Baseball Writers Association.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, this is nationally, not just regionally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's the region poll. The Southwest, you're saying? Southwest? West?
I think we're South Central.
Third in the South Central, as you said.
Yep. Like they haven't updated them yet. Yep.
But you beat West Texas A&M.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Angelo
and
Angelo State, another team up there in the top 5. They
the defending national champions.
won the championship last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Defending Lone Star Conference champions from last year. And so you win the Lone Star Conference, that's a big deal because the Lone Star Conference produces some of the best baseball, if not the best baseball conference in Division II of college baseball. A lot of good players.
Here it is. St. Edward's, the 8 seed, Friday, May 3rd at 6 p.m.
There you go.
Saturday at 3, Sunday at 1 p.m.
That's an if necessary. Yeah.
And then the following
Where'd you find that at?
This is just on the LCU website.
Okay.
The following Thursday, May 9th, we'll start the Lone Star.
Yeah, they got to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday because Sunday is the selection show. So that's where you'll figure out if you're hosting a regional or if you're going to some place for a regional.
And that starts May 16th.
Yep.
So take care of business against St. Edwards, and we're hosting a regional, you're saying?
That's right. Yeah. Take care of business against St. Ed's. You'll host the next round of the conference tournament. You know, get first or second, and then you got a really good chance to host a regional. As long as WT doesn't win the conference tournament. So
Carson, follow me here. If WT wins, we should make the trip for the regional.
Yeah.
If they're down there, we should go.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground.
I'm down.
All right.
Boots on the ground.
We'll see if that happens. All right. Hopefully it's at LCU and I can come sit in the press box with you.
I hope so. I hope so too, so I don't have to travel anywhere.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. We'll end it there. It's a 2-hour show. That's an effort.
It's a long show.
Congratulations to us. We made it.
1 hour was spent on the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Zeke Elliott.
We'll see you Wednesday.
Peace.